Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try to finish this up, the love and belonging PowerPoint here. So we stopped at preschooler with self-concept. If you'll remember, the positive self-concept begins in infancy. In toddlerhood, it's the terrible twos. They want some independence a little bit. And now we're at preschooler stage. They have a sense of awareness and self. They discover their own feelings. They test their roles. They identify with same-sex parents. And if family is critical to the child's budding self-concept, creates a decreased self-esteem, which the child will have to overcome later in life. All right, school-age children. Let's see, school contributes to the child's self-concept and body image, which we talked about a little bit yesterday. The effect depends on what the child's home experience has been like and or what the school experience is like. So still a lot of it can have to do with how things work in the home, and then that's what the child takes into the school. All right, reading, roles with other children and adults, body image changes, these all expand the child's self-esteem and self-concept. This is also when bullying starts, is in the school age. Then we'll move on to adolescence. So adolescence, sexual maturity equals new feelings, roles, and values must be integrated into self. It's a time of rapid change. They want to be adults and kids at the same time. It's a very difficult balance. It's very difficult to convince teens of anything other than what they hear at school. So no matter what you feed into them as far as their self-concept, they really listen a lot more to peers. All right, then we've got young adults. It's a period of cognitive, social, and behavioral changes. The self-concept and body image are socially directed. So proper behavior and appearance are common social standards. And that's just the norm. Even as children, teenagers, young adults, you're teaching them, the older adults are teaching them what is proper social standards, what is normal behavior. All right, for the middle age, you've got your physical changes that occur. So you get fat deposits, gray hair, baldness, wrinkles. You feel and look older. Work may be a little more stressful because you have a little bit of a decreased stamina, decreased energy level. You start getting a little concerned about personal health. Your friends start getting sick. And so then you start thinking, maybe I need to think a little bit more about my own personal health, okay? It's a reassessment of life experiences, okay? Then you've got your older adults. Physical changes may be seen as gradual reductions in function. They view the loss of function as a threat to the body image and self-esteem. So I talked about that yesterday with my father and using a cane or a walker. He just really can't bring himself to do that because it really affects how he views himself. All right. They reflect on their lives and review their successes and disappointments, greatly affecting their self-esteem and self-concept. They have a loss of sensory acuity, hearing loss. It's hard to get old. Okay. Let's see. Nursing roles in self-concept and self-esteem. So be aware of your own values, ethics, feelings, and lifestyles, feelings of lifestyles, health, and illness. It's super important to be aware of yourself so that you can make sure that you're not reflecting your own values upon the patient, okay? You need to accept the client with an altered self-concept. This promotes a positive change. Assess the family and how they relate to each other. I mean, I'll just tell you, I've got some dysfunctional relationships in my family, and that's just how it is. I think most families have some of those. And as the nurse, you just have to assess that. It's not your job to comment or fix it. It's just to see how it works and then to see how you can help in that. So nurses must be able to convey a non-judgmental attitude. So this is super, super important. You must personalize your care to the patient. Take the time to listen to the patient's concerns. Refer them to outside resources if needed. Okay, so often in the hospital, I will take parents of twins and multiples because I have twins and multiples, and then I will refer them out to, we have a Bluegrass Parents of Twins and Multiples club here in town. So I'll refer them to that. It's just nice to have someone who's been there and done that and had those experiences. And here's another resource you can go to in town that has little support groups. You have to have a very non-judgmental attitude. All right, remember when a client's appearance has changed, the client and family will look to you as the nurse and observe your responses and reactions to the changed appearance. So you have to be super aware of your nonverbal communication reactions. to stress and personal expectations. If you walk into a room and you're doing a dressing change and you take that off and you look at the patient and you think, oh my gosh, I can't, this wound is horrible. It's grossly infected. We got some major problems here. If you display that, even if you don't speak it, if you display it on your facial expressions, the patient will become super concerned. They're going to ask you, drill you with questions. So the point is, you have to be very non-judgmental. You have to be aware of your own nonverbal cues, your body language, your facial expressions when you're working with patients. All right, nurses tend to be enablers, and this is so, so, so true. Don't do everything for your patient. They will ask you, can you get me this? Can you hand me that? No. I mean, to a certain extent, yes, but you feel like you're being rude sometimes. But you have to, you can't be an enabler. Part of them being there is recuperating and learning how to get better. So you have to say, I can help you do such and such. I'll work with you. I'll be here with you while you do it, but you have to do it. All right. Remember that a nurse's nonverbal behaviors can have a profound effect on the client and or their family. Sometimes they will not ask for a nurse to not have them again just because they didn't like that they didn't help them do X, Y, and Z. I may be the next nurse that comes in and I may not do it either. Okay? And that's okay, as long as it's done tactfully, nicely, respectfully for the patient, and explain to them why we're not going to do all these things for them. All right, the nurse's role for a child: let the child make some choices, give genuine listening time, time to explain things, encourage and teach parents self-concepts of building self-esteem. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to appreciate the child for who he or she is, not who you want them to be. So they can't live in your shadow. They can't do what you want, what you wish you had done. You have to respect them for who they are. And you have to kind of nurture and teach the child that. Or teach the parents that, I'm sorry. You're going to tell the child, I love you frequently, spend time with the child, foster some independence with the child, and encourage the child to try new and challenging things. Don't say, oh, we're not going to do that. There's no way you can accomplish that. Let them try it and see how they do. They may fail at the task, and that's okay. That's a learning experience. Okay? All right. Then we've got self-actualization. So all the basic needs must be met, must be spiritually centered, must have continuous desire to fulfill your potential. So as nurses, we're going to see, are we going to see very many clients in self-actualization? No, of course we're not, because this is where all the needs have been met. This is going back to Maslow. So see, this is going to carry out throughout your nursing career. So can we assist clients in reaching self-actualization? Sure, we can encourage the patient and family, and that's part of our job, is to encourage them to try to reach self-actualization. All right, let's go on to spirituality in nursing. So spirituality is identified as an important factor to helping achieve balance needed to maintain health and well-being and to cope with an illness. Spiritual care is not just about religious beliefs and practices, and that's very important. It is not about imposing your beliefs and values on the patient. It is not about using your position to convert others. It is about meeting people's needs at their point of need. If you feel like you want to pray for a patient, if you have to see if you have to build that rapport and that relationship with the patient first to see if that's going to be appreciated and desired by the patient. Otherwise, that's something you're going to do outside. You may still do that, but you're not going to do it in the patient's room with the patient if that's not what they want. It's not our job to convert them to our specific religious preferences. Okay? It is our job just to meet them at their point of need. So there has been a lot of research in spirituality that prayer is frequently used as a coping method and is effective in minimizing social stressors. Meditation is successful for treating chronic pain, insomnia, anxiety, depression. Individual beliefs and expectations have effects on the person's well-being. Prayer, relaxation training, guided imagery has been shown to enhance immune function and delay disease progression. So you will hear oftentimes a lot of cancer patients or patients who are chronically ill do a lot of these spirituality, meditation, relaxation trainings to help kind of overcome their illness, so to speak. Overcome and or cope with their illness. So concepts of spiritual health are spirituality, faith, religion, hope, and spiritual health. So spirituality is unique to each individual. All right, individual spirituality enables the person to love, have faith and hope, seek meaning in life, and nurture relationships. Then you've got faith, which is used as a relationship with a divinity, a higher power of authority or spirit that incorporates a reasoning, which is faith, and a trusting faith, which is belief, and a trusting faith, which is action. So you have a reasoning faith and a trusting faith. Okay, faith becomes strengthened, and they can go on with life and engage in activities that fit the new definition of themselves. All right, religion is commonly associated with specific system of practices associated with particular denomination or sect or form of worship. It's important to understand the difference between religion and spirituality. Is it important? Yes, we have to understand the difference. So the difference between religion and spirituality: religious care is helping clients maintain their faithfulness to their belief systems and worship practice. And spiritual care is helping clients maintain personal relationships and a relationship to a higher being or life force, to identify meaning and purpose in life, and to hopefully look beyond the present. These definitions are in the book, or you can replay the video, but they're in the book. All right. Hope. Spirituality is frequently identified as a key element of hope. Invaluable personal resource whenever someone is faced with any life stressors. And I'm skipping around quite a bit because I'm trying to make this short. But I do want you to read all of these PowerPoints and pay attention to them, okay? Spiritual health is achieved when people find balance between life values, goals, and belief systems and the relationship within themselves and others. Okay, so that's key. As well as in times of illness, recovery, or loss, a person may turn to previous ways of responding to a situation, which usually lies in spiritual beliefs. It's the ability to care meaningfully for others and self equals a healthy spirituality. Okay, so the healthy spirituality is the ability to care meaningfully for others and self. Spiritual problems: when illness, loss, grief, or major life changes occur, spiritual resources will either help a person move to recovery, or spiritual needs and concerns will develop. They either cling to that or they want to step away from that. Spiritual distress is a disruption of the person's life principle, which fills the person's being and transcends one's biologic and physiologic nature. So a disturbance in a person's belief system. Okay. So spiritual distress examples are catastrophic illnesses can upset a person's spiritual well-being. They can start having doubt, loss of faith. Why is this happening to me? It may cause a person to feel alone and abandoned. Anger is very common against God, families, themselves, the nurse, everyone. Which I am experiencing a little bit of that with my father. He's very angry that things aren't going the way he wanted them to go, and he's taking that out on everyone, really. Terminal illness creates uncertainty about what the death means and can make clients susceptible to spiritual sense of peace, enabling them to face death without a sense of fear. So it can also be a positive thing. Primary religious problems: it's customary religious practices, if they're interrupted or changed, may affect the structure. So expert nurses acquire the unique ability to know the personal issues affecting the client's willingness to receive and seek help. The nurse embraces a holistic philosophy of caring, enabling them to offer a level of comfort and support that is often intuitive. So we need to support whatever the person's religious practice is in whatever way we can. Spiritual assessment is most successful when the nurse applies the knowledge that pertains to therapeutic communication, principles of loss and grief, and knowledge of caring practices. Okay? Each individual has some sources of authority and guidance in his or her life. It's the inner voice or outer authority that leads a person to choose and act on their beliefs. So sometimes religion can conflict with medical treatments. What are some examples? So of course the most common one that comes to mind is Jehovah's Witness. We may have a life-threatening illness that requires blood or blood products. Jehovah's Witnesses will not receive blood or blood products. Christian Scientists, they often will refuse any medical intervention, believing that their faith will heal them. Okay. Let's see. I only have a few more minutes on this PowerPoint. So just be sure you read through all the rest of this. It's a belief scale assessment